on today's episode of Titletown Takes.
But, yeah.
Also, we got to suck it, Cam. That was great.
Oh, come on. He didn't even score that goal.
I don't want to hear it.
Score the goddamn goal,
That's a Carter Hart
Cameron.
own goal.
Carter Hart own goal. Get
Carter
that
Hart
hell
own goal.
out of
This isn't soccer, Cam. This isn't soccer.
He hit it. He didn't even. He put it off the post. It went off Hart's back, and Hart backed it in himself.
So let me ask you a question, Cameron. Did the puck enter past the goal line?
Yeah, sure.
Who
but
shot
he didn't
the
have
puck?
anything to do with it.
Who shot? He didn't have anything to do with
Nope.
it. You need to hit the damn showers, man.
He didn't have
Nothing
the
to
last
do with
touch.
it. How did the puck end up
That's
behind him?
All right. Titletown Takes is back on the air. Episode 48. Our Matt Grizzlick episode, fellas. How are we doing? Everybody
You know what,
living the dream?
Ian, I have to say something quickly, and
Go ahead.
I know the audience will probably notice it, but I love the respect you have for the podcast, the respect you have for yourself, where you still have your microphone right in front of you,
Even though it's not working.
but it doesn't work.
Exactly.
But I gotta respect the grind.
It's all about an optical illusion. If you hadn't said anything, the people at home wouldn't freak
You
out.
know what's funny? People can't even see my microphone that's sitting right here.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm gonna
Third
go
wall,
out and
baby.
I'm gonna go get either a new wire for my mic, or just invest in one of those nice stand-up podcast mics. So that's in the near future. But right now, we got a jam-packed episode, so we're not going to dabble around. Wick, man, we didn't get to hear from you. How you doing, bud? Just real quick, yeah.
Made some brownies. I'm feeling good.
There you go. All right,
So
perfect.
good.
Great way to kick things off. So, fellas, there was some outdoor hockey last weekend.
Damn
Pretty
straight
fun.
there was.
Pretty fun watch. I mean, game one had a 9-hour first intermission. Longest intermission, I would say, in the history books of the NHL.
Probably
I would think so.
longest served penalty as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. I saw somebody on Twitter where they were like, Ryan Reeves out of the box after serving a 9-hour minor penalty for like a high stick or something. I forget what the exact call was, but yeah. And then Connor, we were actually watching the game when it restarted. We had jumped on a Zoom, and
it was
9 hours on the dot between goals.
Yes, and it was very funny because we were working and we thought we were going to miss the game. But, we had missed the first period, and then they postponed it until midnight. So we got home, and we're like, we're going to watch the damn game.
I got to rock my my All Hail Kale Nordiques jersey for the first time while watching the game.
I'll say it, boys. And Cam, we were talking about this the other day. There is jerseys by themselves that look bad, and then there's uniforms that look good. Vegas's jerseys by themselves look bad. But I think the uniforms as a whole, the Reds looked nice, man. I liked it.
Yeah, we kind of, like you said, we had that conversation. Put together, the whole kit.
Yeah,
it looked pretty nice. Not as nice as those Avalanche ones or the Bruins ones.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Bruins.
The Bruins look way better with the full uniform. I hate the jersey by itself. But the whole uniform looks very nice.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see him wear it at home.
And it'll be interesting because obviously the lighting will be different in the garden.
Right.
It'll probably pop a little bit better.
That natural light, oh man.
But how about the 90s get up? They rocked.
Loved it.
Oh my god.
And even Bergie had the dedication. He had the Walkman.
Yep.
And
Which broke.
Then he said broke because he was getting off the bus, but he was listening to Dr. Dre on there. Some old school 90s music.
Yep.
But fellas, just what are your overall thoughts from the weekend out in Tahoe? I mean, aside from the whole ice debacle,
NHL forgetting about the sun.
We can get into that, but just what are your general takeaways from the weekend out in Tahoe?
Well, my first original thought is the first day was such a catastrophe and such a screw up, and everything was so messed up to begin with. And then everything went relatively smoothly, it seemed. But I think if the first game didn't go the way it did, I don't think the ratings for the Bruins-Flyers game would have been as high. To be fair, Bruins-Flyers, bigger audience, but the highest rated sporting event in NBC sports history.
Regular season sporting.
Regular season, but still. Like, I'm assuming that counts, what? So is that it's NBC Sports Network, not just
NBCSN.
Okay.
And then the stream of the game was the highest streamed game ever in NBC sports history, not NBC Sports Network.
That's crazy.
Which is completely different.
That's what I was going to say, because like Winter Classic is NBC. It's not NBCSN.
Yeah.
So Boston delivered a 6.69. Nice.
That's a big number.
Philadelphia delivered a 407, which is pretty good.
And Cameron, Mr. Cynic here. What'd you think of the? I mean, Bruins look damn good, man.
Bruins look pretty good, dude. Pastrnak, he's got 9 goals. He's got 6 against the Flyers, so he needs to play the Flyers more often. The Bruins have 11 wins, and 5 of them are from Philly.
Cam, I think we can credit it to rocking Randy Macho Man Savage glasses.
Doesn't hurt.
Pre-game and warm-ups.
Doesn't hurt. And
I mean,
whatever gets you ready.
Boys. It was all over Twitter, right? People were like, "Oh, Pasta scoring a hattie" after he showed up with how he was dressed, and there was no way the Bruins weren't winning with the whole squad showing up in '90s gear. It was awesome.
Well, somebody said it. You can't lose. And like, imagine you lose and you have to walk out.
You look like an asshole.
You look like a douchebag.
Yeah.
So I think they balled up, and you know what, boys? I think the worst thing, something absolutely awful happened during that game, though. Absolutely.
After? You talking about
awful.
after?
Yeah. And we've been having this battle at Lollering for a long time, and the situational use of
it's not gonna get any better now.
A certain song has not been viewed very highly at Merrimack College. But the Bruins used it in a post-game celebration. We're talking about Barbie Girl, and David Pastrnak brought up in a post-game interview, and now it's exploding everywhere. And our good friend of the show and coworker Sean Kacharski loves to play Barbie Girl at hockey games. And now I don't think it's ever he's just never going to stop. We got him to stop for a while, but he's not going to stop now. So we just gotta deal with it. So that's the worst thing that could have happened at Lake Tahoe, and we didn't even know it.
Yeah, and we had no control. Obviously, we had no control over anything that was going on there anyways, but, like, the fact that Pasta was you could tell that he was visibly frustrated and devastated after the game, that he had to leave to go to media, as he called it, instead of jamming out to Barbie Girl in the tent, if you want to call it. I won't even call it a locker room.
Yep.
But,
we got to suck at Cam. That was great.
Oh, come on. He didn't even score that goal.
I don't want to hear it.
Carter Hart.
Goddamn goal.
That's a Carter Hart own goal.
Carter Hart own goal. Get the hell out of
This isn't soccer, Cam. This isn't soccer.
He hit it. He put it off the post. It went off Hart's back, and Hart backed it in himself.
So let me ask you a question, Cameron. Did the puck enter past the goal line?
Yeah, sure.
Who
but
shot
he didn't have anything to do with it.
Who shot? He didn't have anything to do with it. You need to hit the damn showers, man. Nothing to do with it. How did the puck end up behind him? Was it Brandon Carlo who shot it? Was it Anders Bjork? Was it your beloved Carson Kuhlman? No, it was Charlie Coyle who shot the puck. It hit the post, hit Carter Hart, and went in. That's a goal. In the record book, Charlie Coyle goal.
But he didn't beat Carter Hart. He didn't beat Carter Hart with that shot. Carter Hart.
You have so many spin zones to just, I'm right. But
I'm right.
You're not right, Cameron.
Cam, this is not soccer. You cannot score an own goal in hockey like that.
You can score an own goal.
You see it all the time.
Goal. I think it goes in. Ian, tell me if I'm wrong. Does that go in as Charlie Coyle goal or Carter Hart?
I believe. Hold on. Let me just check the score sheet here real fast and carry the conversation here for a moment.
You guys are so pathetic.
So pathetic.
You're the one trying to spin this off as an own goal.
You guys are so desperate to get Charlie to celebrate Charlie Coyle doing what he's supposed to do normally.
Why are you so desperate to not pump his tires?
Because he didn't score the goal.
He scored a goal, Cameron.
Speaking of pumping tires, fellas, how's your boy David Krejci doing?
I mean, he's dead. Well, move on. You know, he can't play.
He missed one game. What's the deal?
Yeah.
One game. He's not playing tomorrow.
Has he missed the second game yet? He hasn't missed it yet.
Oh yeah, but there was no hope from Cassidy today when he met with the media after practice.
And you can't.
Hey, look, we're gonna be playing without Krejci sooner rather than later.
Which means more playing time for Charlie Coyle, baby. Let's go.
Oh, good Lord, help.
So hold on, I'm pulling up the score sheet right now, fellas.
Listen, you can go with the NHL doing their stupid little technicalities that he did score the goal. He got the last touch. They have their little rules. I've seen Brandon Carlo and the like put plenty of pucks in their own goal. I see Chara do it. I've seen a lot of it happen.
We're going
to
Boston.
The last touch, but that doesn't mean that guy scored the goal.
We're going to games. We're going to Bruins Flyers 7-3 Sunday, February 21st. We're going to the Game Center.
Yeah.
I will look up the.
Listen.
The box.
You didn't give him as much credit. He got credit for the goal. He didn't score the goal. There's a difference.
Scoring at the 16-14 mark of the second period, his third of the season, number 13, Charlie Coyle.
It's a credited goal.
Assist to number 12, Craig Smith. 4-2, Boston.
Smitty clutch chain. Cameron, how did the puck get propelled? How did Carter Hart put it in?
He shot it, but
Carter Hart shot.
And Cam, who would that?
It's not a credited goal, Connor. It's not a scored goal. There's a difference.
No. Who shot the puck? Who is the he that you are referring to?
Charlie Coyle shot the puck.
Thank you. Okay.
Hold on. We need to take a step back here. This is up there with the I can look at it, but I can't watch it.
No, it isn't. Because this actually makes sense. The other one doesn't make any sense.
What does
scoring mean? What is the difference?
There's a difference between credited with a goal and scoring.
Please explain it to me, because I don't understand what you say. This is the National Hockey League.
It all goes down in the stat book the same way, Cam.
So, Connor, when an own goal is scored,
right,
it's credited to the person who last touched the puck. Coyle shot the puck, therefore he was last to touch it, but Hart put it in himself.
Cameron, here's
he's
my
credited.
biggest problem.
He didn't score.
If literally anybody else shot that puck, you would say it was their goal. But it's Charlie Coyle, so you say, "Oh, it's."
Hey, you can't prove that.
Cameron,
we are literally proving this conversation right now.
I know you. I've known you for long enough. I know that grin when you know you're in the wrong, and
I'm not wrong.
You know, look at why
I'm technically right.
There, Cameron.
No, you're not.
It's not a.
You're not even close to being right.
Cameron, I've played enough.
I bend the rules. I bend the implication.
I know when you are bullshitting. I know it.
I'm not bullshitting.
Look at the camera.
Carter Hart scored the goal.
Look at the camera. Why do you keep
Carter Hart scored the goal?
I'm sorry, I don't see Carter Hart's name on the score sheet.
We got
because own goals aren't. They don't credit own goals in the NHL.
Oh my goodness.
So before we chug along here, fellas, Ryan Donato 3 goals. Charlie Coyle, 3 goals. Would you look at that? And
man,
Charlie Coyle has the most recent.
It took him how many more games to get 3?
Doesn't matter how many games it took them. They have.
And considering the Sharks are about to go on a hiatus because all their players have COVID or whatever.
One of their players has COVID.
So they're going to.
So they just postponed tomorrow's game against Thursday's game against Vegas.
We'll see how that goes. You got to get double, triple tested. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just saying, you guys are obsessed with trying to get one over on Charlie Coyle on me, and it's not working. Obsessed. I live rent-free in your damn head.
Charlie Coyle has played 16 games. Ryan Donato has played 17.
Interesting.
And Donato has more points.
I mean, well, the last time I checked, Charlie Coyle
shut you up pretty fast, huh?
That
shut you up pretty fast.
To be fair, we had the same exact argument about a year ago.
We had that same. We just had that argument with David Krejci. Ian was talking about it.
We have this argument every episode.
Cameron goes on air with Griff Jeska in the studio. We're talking goals here. We're not talking points. So yeah, Cameron, we're talking goals. We're not talking points. You goddamn idiot.
3-3, Wickers. 3-3. That's how I look at it. All right,
you know what, Cameron? No, hold on. I'm putting my foot down. How about we go double and nothing on this bet? I will bet you $20 Charlie Coyle will score more goals than Ryan Donato by the end of the year. $20.
Take it or you're a coward.
Take it
or
leave
money.
it. I
got money.
This is a
put your money where your mouth is.
Virtual
I got money. I just said yes.
Okay. All right. There you go. On air, February 24th at 8:45 p.m. The bet between Charlie Coyle and Ryan Donato, i.e. Powell Dude and Wickman, is back on, folks.
Back on. It took a hiatus with COVID, but now we're back.
And I think it's a good starting point, too, because now they're squared at 3 goals apiece.
Oh, yeah, they're even.
So
we're not talking points. We're just goals. Who's going to score?
Glad you guys are pleased paying a guy 5.5 for 3 goals. I'm glad that you.
Cameron, I never said anything about the damn salary cap. What? This is another spin zone of yours. Well, I've said before I think he's paid too much. Doesn't mean you can't root for the guy.
Nope, you're not wrong, Connor.
I know I'm not wrong.
If they're going to put us behind the 8 ball, that's fine.
Cameron just sits and stews in his own anger.
Speaking
his
of
own players
behind
he's
the 8
supposed
ball,
to root for.
Speaking of behind the 8 ball, we lost Lauzon and Miller again. So
yeah, but we have Vakanainen, who I think looked very good, and Jack Ashan. And but he won't. It's the Chuck.
All right, there, Mr. The Chuck. Yeah, Mr. The Chuck.
But I mean, John Moore looked good at Tahoe, man. So I mean, like we've all said, John Moore comes and plays.
I feel like everyone really needed a good game.
True. And also, how about Big Rich?
Big and Rich time.
Everyone needed a goal or needed a good performance out of Lake Tahoe. Bruins have looked horrible their last 3 games heading in to the big long trip.
Sometimes you
get points from Smith and Coyle and Freddie and Moore and Richie needed a goal at that point. He had been quiet for a long time.
Firing on all cylinders.
So, fellas,
you need a good game for everybody.
I got a question for you guys. Can you name the only Bruin that has yet to register a point this season? There's one.
Carson Coleman.
Nope.
Carson Coleman got a point?
Because
he's played.
Hold on. 1 second.
Coleman hasn't played.
Coleman has not played.
Has he not?
He has not played.
He's practiced, but he hasn't played.
He has not played yet.
Is it Clifton?
It is not Clifton. Connor Clifton has 2 assists in 9 games.
Okay. Is it Kasha?
It is Andre Kasha.
Damn straight.
I don't know if that counts.
I don't think it counts.
He's played in games. He's got 2 games under his belt this year.
He had no points in 2 games. I don't count that.
Yeah.
So, well, if that doesn't count, then John Moore's played 3 games and he's got 2 assists. So does that not count?
Well, there's a difference. Kasha got injured. Moore is a 7th defenseman that you just plug in.
All right. Well, all right. Fine. Then I guess we're not counting Andre Kasha.
I'm still on board.
You can count it. It's just.
I'm still on.
I think it's a bit unfair
that Andre Kasha should not immediately get a roster spot back.
No way. Not with the way some of the other guys ahead of him have been playing.
Listening to Ty Anderson say he watched him all of training camp and he never put the puck in the net in training camp.
Not good.
Like, he should have to work and earn his spot. Like, these guys are playing well. Let them play. Who knows till we get them back? Could be a while. So that'll be good.
All right, fellas, let's move along here. Some news across the NHL wire on Wednesday. Claude Julien was canned by the Montreal Canadiens after they lost to the Ottawa Senators in a shootout on Tuesday night.
Completely unfair loss. Matt Murray had plenty of time to get reset. The Habs should have scored a game winner with 3 seconds to go. Unfair. It's just the problem of where the goal interfered. Ian, you go look at it.
I don't
feel over a rival getting screwed.
I don't feel bad for Montreal.
Neither do I, but you can call a spade here and say that they were screwed because they were. Go look at it.
I got one more. Hold on, Connor. We'll get to you in 1 second. I looked at it very briefly today. I agree that the goal probably should have counted, but at the same time, I also don't think Connor Powell has raised hand. At the same time, I don't think Claude should have been fired.
I think he should
today.
I think he should have. Claude, we've seen what Claude is, guys. We know he's very particular on the way he coaches. He doesn't like to play young guys. He'll roll 4 lines to a fault. I don't care if there's 2 minutes left and you're down 1. He will play the 4th line. He will play the 4th line. He doesn't care what it is. He doesn't like to play the youth. He's bench Mete for that reason. The Habs have scored 1 power play goal in the last 8 games, and their penalty kill has been terrible the last couple of weeks. It was a deserved fire.
Connor.
I love Claude, but he needed to go.
Can I say something?
Go right for it.
Questionably a hot take, maybe not, but I'm going to go out and say it. The Montreal Canadiens, as of right now, and maybe the past couple of seasons, are not my least favorite team.
No.
I know we're born at the bottom of the barrel for me.
We're born into a rivalry with Montreal just because we're Boston fans. But I I dislike the Maple Leafs so much more than I dislike Montreal. I actually kind of like Montreal has like a likable team to me.
Yeah, I have a good friendship with a guy who's a Habs fan. Connor knows who he is.
Yeah.
And knowing him has kind of gotten me like, hey, the Habs aren't that bad. And we've met people. We've had Michel Lacroix on. You'll see that in a bit. But I said it when I was on when we were interviewing. I said, you hate your rivals, and you want them to lose, but you always respect them because without them, you're nothing.
It's true.
So I mean, and I hate the Leafs way more than I hate the Habs. Come on,
yeah.
Maybe when the Habs start being good again.
Right, you'll have that
change.
animosity.
This year, obviously, they're not in our division, so you don't really care. I mean, you always want to see the Leafs lose, but everyone else is kind of in the middle. When the Habs are good again, I'm sure I'll care, but right now, I don't. I agree with this take.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow, Cameron, this is a first on
It's kind of like when the Yankees were trash, when the Red Sox were good, and when the Yankees were good and the Red Sox were trash. Like in 2018, we were both good. I was like,
right.
I hate the Yankees.
This is what you.
This is what we live for. This is what we're here for.
So yeah, Cam, like you said, Montreal has been struggling lately. They've lost 4 out of their last 5, 1 power play goal in those last stretch of games.
They're still the best 5-on-5 team in the league too. I didn't bring that up. They're the best 5-on-5 team in the league.
They have lost to Ottawa 3 times this month.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't.
Well, they lost. Well, they lost 3 times to Detroit last year, so it's not like.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like that's out of the ordinary for them, That's exactly what they did last year, just to a different team wearing red. I don't know what to think with their new coach. I don't know if he's a long-term option or just interim. I saw they brought in Alex Burrows. Lucic might have to jump on the bench to teach him a lesson at some point.
Yep.
But we'll see how that goes. Bergeron's blessed that he doesn't have to worry about losing any fingers.
Yep.
Maybe if the Bruins play the Leafs or the Habs in the final, he'll have to watch on the handshake line. But try to get my jokes in while they're here.
But also, fellas, while we're up in the north, Connor, you just mentioned him a couple of minutes ago. Toronto's a wagon right now up there.
Yeah, we'll see we'll see. Wagon.
Toronto sucks.
Wagon. I mean, they are not losing.
They're the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Every team in that northern division has problems.
That's why I said they're a wagon up there.
That's why you can fire Claude right now. The Habs are 4 points in a playoff spot right now with the exact amount of games played as the Flames. They have everyone as a problem. If you can figure out your problems for everyone else in that division, you're on. You're on for it.
Mm-hmm.
That division is the worst division I've ever seen. It is so horrible. Mm-hmm. Vancouver is one of the worst hockey teams I've ever watched.
Damn,
I don't know how they fell off so bad. Was Tyler Toffoli really the difference between them being that good in the playoffs last year and this bad this year? Tyler Myers on 6.66 or $6 million for 6 years definitely doesn't help. Yeah. Demko hasn't really taken that next step. Holtby has been awful.
Nate Schmidt's been bad.
Markstrom has been – they should have just kept Markstrom. It's been clear. Schmidt's been terrible. Pedersen hasn't stepped up. Besser hasn't stepped up.
Besser is –
nobody has a backbone on this team. No one can step up and make a play.
Yeah. Besser is up to the top of the league with scoring, but it's just like I would argue like Bo Horvat has.
Yeah, I mean, sure, they're up at the top of the league in scoring, Connor, but everyone's scoring in that division.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like timely goals. Quinn Hughes has 21 points.
He does.
He has 2 goals and 19 assists. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And it's because everyone in the division is bad. No one can play defense.
Yeah.
They're terrible. It's fun hockey to watch, but good lord, if they play a real team. If they play goal differentials, team, they are so screwed.
Goal differentials in the North Division range from Toronto at +18 to Ottawa at -32.
That ain't it, Chief. I'll tell you right now. Jesus.
+18 to -32.
That is so bad.
That is a 50-goal swing between the two teams. That's insane.
Yeah. It kind of just proves my point.
Nothing more to say. It's just a bad division.
And Cam, like you said, despite the fact of how terrible Ottawa's been, they're 9 points behind Montreal for that fourth spot.
Yeah, they're still in it.
Yeah,
if you want to call it
loosely in it, whatever. Yeah, however you want to shake it out. But I mean, I think one thing worth noting just before we move on, I am glad the NHL is going to be sending players back to the Olympics because I'm excited to see Austin Matthews wear a red, white, and blue jersey next year for Team USA if he continues to play the way he has been this season.
I'll feel dirty about it.
It'll be weird.
He's just a terrible person.
Yeah, it's going to be how Montreal fans feel when they get to see Bergeron wear a Canadian.
No, but Bergeron's a good hockey
sweater. People like Bergeron.
People like Bergeron. People hate
Marchand. Marchand, on the other hand,
okay, fair enough. Okay.
A lot of people are going to have a tough time rooting for him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing
Canadian national team hero, World Cup winner, World Cup game-winning goal scorer.
Yep.
Brad Marchand.
Yeah, that's true.
Any other notes, fellas, you guys wanted to get to? Anything that stands out around the rest of the NHL? Or are we set to move on to some thoughts that I have after watching The Voice of Hockey, Doc Emmerich's documentary?
Floor is yours, Beachman.
So, I mean, I've talked about it on here before, fellas. You guys know that Doc is single-handedly the reason why I got into broadcasting. I mean, I have his book right here behind me. It's, I have yet to actually get a chance to sit down and read it, but one of these days I will finally crack it open, and I'm excited to see.
Who are you lying to? You can't read.
No, you're right. What are my I know my ABDs, though. I'm good at ABDs.
Yeah. And your 1-2-5s.
And my 1-2-5s, yeah. 2 + 2 = fish, right?
You damn straight, boy.
But no, I sat down and I watched it with my father last night. It's been a couple of crazy days. I didn't get to watch it on Sunday because we were working when they aired it. So I recorded it, and I wanted to make sure I sit down and watch it from start to finish on my own terms. But after doing that last night, it just makes me appreciate all that Doc brought to the game of hockey. And, I and the rest of us that grew up hockey fans were extremely lucky to get the chance to sit down and have Doc's voice come into our living rooms night after night as kids growing up watching the NHL on NBC and all that stuff. Just a couple of things that stood out to me. He cares about people that helped him get to the point where he was. They showed a couple of highlights of him going back to Bowling Green. So for people that may not have got the chance to watch it, they just talked about some of the things that got him to the point. It was interesting when he was a student there. They had a full-time guy call the first and third periods of hockey games, but there's always a student that would broadcast the second period of Bowling Green Falcon hockey. And when he was applying for schools, the guys at the radio station and those that were in charge of putting together the productions basically came out and said, hey, look, you come here, you get to call the second period of action for Bowling Green games, and that sold him. So I thought that was a real interesting tidbit to learn that the reason why Doc went to Bowling Green wasn't because of their communications programs or anything like that. It was because he was promised the chance to call one period of a hockey game once or twice a week, depending on schedules and how things worked out. That was cool. Obviously, we know he got his first big-time NHL gig with the Devils. It was awesome to see how much that organization, that area, still cares about him to this day. It was cool to see some guys like Marty Brodeur talk about how when he had his retirement ceremony, they asked him who he wanted to MC it, and the first thing that popped into his mind was there was only one guy, and it was Doc, just because his voice was synonymous with Devils hockey for 14 years. And just the fact that he was loved by teams, and Brodeur called it an honor to have him call all of his games when he was in New Jersey. And then just the biggest thing, obviously, we know a broadcaster is only as good as the partner that they have in the booth. It was a little emotional seeing just how much Enzo and Doc meant to one another and how much of a brother they became to one another just off of years calling game after game in that booth, and the chemistry that those two developed over the years. They both share the fact that they're cancer survivors, so that is another tug at the heartstrings moment that really shows the connection that they developed. And Edzo was the perfect way to wrap it up. They wrapped it up saying that as Doc finished his career, he turned to Edzo and said, I hope somebody gets the chance to treat you when you're 62 years old calling hockey as you treated me when I was 62 years old and calling the game of hockey. Obviously, we know Doc's preparedness ahead of games was astounding. Just seeing some of the different note cards that he would compile, and there are just so many good stories that if people out there haven't got a chance to sit down and watch it, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube at this point, or go to whatever your local cable provider is. I'm sure you can find it on recording or on rerun at some point. It is an excellent 46 minutes of the greatest broadcaster that the hockey world and maybe sports in general will ever have, at least in our lifetime. And again, I am just completely thankful that I got to grow up listening to the game of hockey with Doc's voice on the other end. And again, he's the reason why I'm here pursuing my chance to get behind a microphone. And again, I said it the day he retired, just thanks, Doc, for all the years. And your voice is already missed, and it'll be missed for years to come. And hopefully at some point there's some sort of reunion, and, you know, we get another moment for Doc behind a microphone, whether it's 5 minutes or a period. You know, I would just love for one more chance to hear Doc call a hockey game, and I'll never take a highlight with his voice for granted going forward. But I did just want to share those thoughts after watching the documentary last night, and I think this is a good point to transition and send it over to another memorable voice in the hockey world. It's time for our chat with Dave Joseph, the former public address announcer for the Los Angeles Kings. That's coming to you next. We'll be back here on Titletown Takes right after this.
All right. Today's guest is a Hofstra grad with his degree in communications. Fellas, I think we know someone else that falls into that category as well.
Maybe all three of us.
Maybe, yeah, that's also true. He is a traffic and weather reporter across the Los Angeles market for KFI AM 640, KOST 1035, and as well as on Siriusxm. He started out with his team in 2002 as a rinkside and locker room media member. He's done work with the Los Angeles Black Storm in the X League, the LA Galaxy 2 of the USL, and the Ontario Reign of the AHL, his team's affiliate. From the cold and desolate winters of Michigan's Upper Peninsula to the warm and sun-filled City of Angels, it is our pleasure to welcome to the Titletown Takes podcast the public address announcer for the Los Angeles Kings, Mr. Dave Joseph. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. I think that'll just about do it. I mean, you wrapped it up right there. There's not a whole lot more to say. So my head looks enormous on the screen, and thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man.
Well, you know, we appreciate you taking the time. I mean, you know,
yeah,
trying to make sure that when we get people on here, we can give a bit of a background to start things off, and then we let, you know, the interviewee take it over and kind of take us from there. So why don't we start with how you got interested in the communications field, and more specifically radio/public address announcing work?
This is a great story because I was 15 years old and my dad owned a supermarket in a very small town in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. This is the middle of nowhere. Although I love it. Love growing up there. It was great. My dad owned a supermarket. I went to work for my dad for one day, and he said, 2 choices. You either quit or I'm going to fire you. And I said, okay, great. I quit. And he said, okay, but you have to get a job. My neighbor across the street happened to run a radio station, the only radio station in town. I said, can I get a job at your radio station? I need a job. And he said, absolutely. And I was hooked at 15 years old. And I said, I'm going to go to college for this. And I'm going to pursue a degree in communications. And the rest just kind of fell into place from there.
That's certainly unique. I mean, I don't think we've had anybody tell us a story that cut and dry. Usually it's like, I started to gain interest when my dad brought home a radio, or there was a local DJ on the radio station across town that I would listen to. But I mean, it was either supermarket, no job, or radio station. And
that's right.
Pretty much.
And I chose radio. So
Yeah,
tell me,
good choice.
You can tell me I'm a dummy now. That's okay. But 35 years later, here we are.
Was that a passion at all of yours beforehand, or was it just kind of I need a job of any kind?
I was always a radio guy. Like, I listened to the radio a lot. I know that everyone listens to the radio, right? But like, I would go to bed listening to the radio. I'd listen to Rick D's Weekly Top 40. I'd listen to Casey Kasem. I'd listen to all these guys, right? Like, this is back in my day, probably not your guys' day, but you guys listen to Ryan Seacrest and all that stuff.
No.
Yeah, these are the guys before them. Their parents and grandparents. So I listened to those guys, and I just kind of got hooked, and I said I'd like to do something in the communications business. I didn't know if it was radio or TV, and then kind of growing up, I looked in the mirror and said maybe I'm more suited for radio than TV, and there it was. It was just something that I liked, something I enjoyed. Once I got into it, I kind of felt it was my niche, and it was great. It's worked out ever since.
So growing up on the UP, there's not a lot of interests. I'm guessing hockey or college hockey, specifically Lake State, or were you more of a Sault Ste. Marie guy in the OHL?
No. So actually, where I grew up is 15 minutes from Northern Michigan University, which is
Northern Michigan, okay.
home of the hockey Wildcats. So I grew up on NMU hockey. And then about an hour and a half north of where I'm from is Michigan Tech University.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was big Division I college hockey. And then Lake State was 3 hours to the west of us, so we could go there to watch hockey games. But I grew up playing hockey. I grew up since I was 2, 3, 4 years old. I started skating. Didn't turn out that I was very good, but so we played in Sault Ste. Marie all the time. I grew up playing games in Sault Ste. Marie, in Elliott Lake, Ontario, all over Ontario, Sudbury, Ontario. So I have a lot of experience there. But most of the college hockey that we watched was Northern Michigan hockey.
So Red Wings fan as well?
No, I grew up a Blackhawks fan because my dad was a Red Wings fan. And actually, geographically, where I'm from, it's closer to Chicago than it is to Detroit. So it made more sense for me to become a Blackhawks fan. And the first game I ever saw was a Blackhawks game. So I was kind of hooked from there.
So let's just backtrack a little bit here. I mean,
sure.
You go from working for your father, and then you get forced upon joining a radio station. How did the gig with the Kings come about? I mean, was that just kind of getting your name out there through radio, or how'd that all come about?
Yeah, so about 2000, I moved to LA for a different radio job. And then 2001, I think ESPN radio started in Los Angeles. And I had a buddy who I worked with in New York City for 3 years, and he was running the station in LA. And he said, hey, why don't you come work for me at ESPN radio? So I was running the board for a show called the McDonnell Douglas Show with Joe McDonnell and Doug Krikorian. It was a sports radio show in LA. Really good sports radio show. And part of that gig was they had the Kings as they were the flagship station of the Kings. And they said, well, they walked into the studio one day and I was running the board and they said, here's a press credential. Go to the Kings game whenever you want.
Nice.
I was like, okay, great.
Good deal.
Fan. Right. So I said, would you want anything from the Kings game? Like, could I do interviews with guys? Can I bring back tape and audio and stuff? And they said, yeah, if you want to, go for it. So then I just kind of worked my way into the locker room and interviewing guys and bringing back sound for our sports reporters and update guys. And they loved it. And I got to talking with the Kings one day and they said, yeah, we'd like to hire you to do our locker room interviews for our website. So I worked for lakings.com for a couple of years and got to know some of the guys in the room. And these were bad, tough years for the Kings. These are early to mid 2000s. Andy Murray was the head coach at the time. And they struggled. They didn't have a whole lot of firepower and a whole lot of offense. And they were lean years. So it taught me a lot as a reporter on what to ask, what not to ask, and who to go to. And it was a good learning experience.
Yeah. Did you have any favorite guys you like to interview when you started?
Yeah, 100%. Still one of my best friends to this very day. Ian LaPerriere, who's an assistant coach with the Flyers, was awesome to talk to. Every single game, he'd never tell you no. He'd always have 10, 15 minutes for you to sit down and chat with you. He'd have lunch with you. He was the best. He's just absolutely the best. Him and probably Derek Armstrong, who's another good friend of mine, who still works for the Kings. He same thing. Bad night, and there were a lot of bad nights, and he'll tell you the same thing. He would always have time to talk to you. He'd always have time to chat, and he would sit down and he just lay it all out for you. Those two guys stand out as being excellent.
So kind of on the flip side, was there anybody that's, I mean, you don't have to name names, but was there any players, any good stories you have of guys who just had a terrible night or on a good night that were just absolutely awful?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that.
There were a few. Yeah. It's so hard because when you're in there every night and you're there for 41 home games plus preseason and you see the same guys every night and they know you're coming. And then, and I'm sure you guys have been in a similar situation, but they're like, oh, here comes that guy again. And you're like, I got to ask you, but then they don't want to talk, and you don't blame them because they're having a tough season or they had a tough night or whatever it is. So yeah, there are always, a handful of guys, but hockey guys, for the most part, as you guys know, are really good to talk to. They rarely blow you off, but there's a handful of guys in every sport.
So take us through your first game as the PA guy in LA. I mean, we've deemed this the PA train that we're on now, so we've gotten some good contacts from other guys around the league on their first games. How did your first game go? Was it kind of a smooth process? I mean, like you said, you're a hockey guy through and through, or was it kind of a bumpy road to kind of get where you are now?
Now, are you talking my first actual game as the PA announcer? Like,
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
how about how you got to that point? Like, how did that opportunity come about? I guess that's a better point to start.
Okay.
Off.
So the legendary, the guy who was with the Kings for 25 years was David Courtney, and he was my mentor, my friend. We worked together in radio. We worked for the same radio stations. I mean, we were buddies. We were good friends. And David died in 2012 after the Kings won the Stanley Cup. So David did 9 jobs in Los Angeles. David was the voice of the Kings. David was the voice of the Clippers, the voice of the Long Beach Ice Dogs, you name it. You name the team out here, David Courtney did PA for them, right? He did it for everybody pretty much. Well, David had so many gigs that some nights he couldn't be at all the gigs, obviously. You can only be in one place. So I started to fill in for him with the Long Beach Ice Dogs, the West Coast Hockey League at the time. Then they became ECHL. Then one night I was at a Kings game and my phone rings and they said, hey, is this Dave Joseph? I said, yeah. They said, can you come down to the box? David Courtney's sick. And I said, yeah, sure. So I ran down to the box and they said, flip to page 25 in the script and read number 50, go. And that's the way it started. That was the first game I ever did. I just happened to be at Staples Center that night. They knew that I knew David and had filled in for him doing some hockey stuff. And they said, we don't know you, but can you do this tonight? Because he fell ill at the game. He had some food poisoning or something. Yeah. And he couldn't go. So they said, come on down. I literally ran down to the PA box, which at Staples Center is between the penalty boxes at center ice. So here comes me. Luckily, I was wearing a suit and dressed nicely for the night. And they said, yeah, turn and go to this page and go. And that's the way it started. So whenever David needed a fill-in from then on out, this was probably, I want to say 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. They said, can you fill in for David whenever he's sick or whatever? And I said, yeah. So there were a few times where David was at the Angels. He was doing an Angels game because he did that also. And the Angels were in the playoffs and they said, hey, do you want to come and fill in for David? And I said, yeah, sure. So that's how I started. And then the very first night I got the job, unfortunately, David passed away in 2012 after the Kings won the Cup. That was a lockout season. They had the lockout. So we didn't start playing until January of 2013. And the very first game I called, we played the Chicago Blackhawks.
Of course.
And the Stanley Cup was in town because we were the defending champs.
Mm.
So I'm not going to lie, I had a little poop in my pants. And I said, here, this is it. It's ride or die right now. You got to show up, right? The red light goes on, you got to show up. And the building's packed and the game's on national TV. And let's go down to PA announcer Dave Joseph. Yeah. And you go, okay, there you go. And here comes Dustin Brown walking out with the cup right next to me in the booth. And you go, whoa, welcome to the NHL, So it was either do or die at that point. And I don't think it gets more hectic than that. 2014, we went on to win the cup again. and I got to call those games, and that was fun and exciting and hectic and crazy and nuts. But that's how it all started.
So, Dave, we asked this to everybody. It's right down by the bench, right down the penalty box. You must hear some pretty interesting things.
Yep.
Sitting down there. Do you have any stories you could tell us of any interesting conversations you've heard or things you've had to deal with?
How much time you guys have? I could talk all day.
I don't know, but you gotta try.
We usually get a couple. We usually get 2 or 3 from people. So
you gotta try and best Paul McCann in Nashville. He had someone come into the penalty box and try and pick up a woman.
He did it. He succeeded.
He did it. He succeeded after going out immediately following the release of his first penalty to cross-check a Predator player just so he could go back and resume the conversation he was having sitting with the woman next to the penalty box.
I've had guys, I won't say which team, but I've had guys give their numbers to the penalty box attendant to give to someone of the female persuasion who's in attendance. I won't say whether that's a Kings player or another player. I don't want to.
That's what Paul did. He
dirt on anybody.
Not going to name names now.
I've seen that happen, or guys have come in and said, "Hey, do you know that girl?" And you go, "Who?" And they go, "The girl to my right, 3rd row up." And you go, "Yeah, I know who that is," or "No, I have no idea. I've never seen her before." And, "Oh, can you tell her X, Y, and Z?" And you go, "Yeah, that's not really my thing, but." if you want to come back after the game, I'm not telling her anything. I've had guys discuss going out to dinner after they just got into a fight on the ice.
That's amazing.
George Peros fought what's his name? I'm trying to no, it's throwing me. 2 guys fought. George was playing for the Ducks, and we had a guy that was playing for us, and they fought, and they came into the box afterward, and they said, where are we going for dinner afterward? And I said, oh my God.
What a world.
But that's the way it goes. They're friends, and that's the way it is. I've had a guy in the AHL. I had a guy from a visiting team drink a beer in the box. Which I've never seen, and he got suspended for it. Yeah. So that's actually on record that people know about. So a fan handed him a beer, and he was like, yeah, why don't you try to, drink this or whatever. And he's like, I'll drink that, and drank it. And he got suspended for it, but yeah. So that was fun. There was the Drew Doughty has a million where he comes into the box and says stuff to other guys. He chirps other guys in the box, talks about everything you can imagine. I can't get into the specific details. There was one where he was making a motion like this a couple of years ago when we were playing Calgary, and Matthew Tkachuk was in the box, and he was saying some not so kind things to Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, there's a million things. There was one where Dan Carcillo yelled at me for calling him Dan Carcillo because I should have called him Daniel Carcillo. So there's 100. Yeah. Which is always fun, but my mistake. It was my bad. I went up to it.
Are there any other names or any other hard names that you've gotten wrong over the years?
Yeah.
Because Tom in St. Louis said he did a preseason game against Chicago, and he said Dustin Byfuglian by mistake. So there's
that'll happen.
Yeah.
There have been some where afterward I said, how did I butcher that so badly? Everything now, and I think a lot of us are the same, where we phonetically spell everything out, or we try to phonetically spell it so it's easier and you're not seeing it the first time and you practice it a few dozen times. I'm just thinking the guys that give me the most trouble, and they're not – most of the Russian names I think are pretty easy because they look like they sound. It's some of the Czech names will throw me. Yeah. The Slovak names kind of throw me sometimes. Yep. And then some of the Finnish, Swedish names sometimes give me a problem. But like Sergei Krivokrasov, like saying or Nino Niederreiter, which is always fun. But yeah, there's a million of those names where you're like, what? How did he get that from this? Or my favorite hockey name to this day, my favorite NHL name, Slater Cuckoo, which is fantastic. Yeah, great name. Which is spelled like Coke with K's, but cuckoo. Yeah, for the people who don't know.
So Dave, let's just, from a hockey fan's perspective, you grew up a Blackhawks fan, and you become an LA Kings guy. Mm-hmm. How is that for you? Especially they've had some great playoff series throughout the years, especially with the Kings playoff runs. I mean, is that something where you kind of adapted and became a Kings fan after all this time, or just is Chicago always deep in your heart? You're rooting for them deep down, and you kind of have to go Kings go on the outside. How has that gone for you over the years?
I dropped the Chicago allegiance a long time ago. So in like 2000, 2001, when I moved out here and I started going to Kings games, I said, this is exciting. And 1999, they built Staples Center. So 1999, 2000 was the first year. So Staples was brand new and still a fantastic building. But at the time, it was just, no one had seen anything like it in Los Angeles. So going to games was electric. Even though they were bad, it was still electric. And I just kind of picked up on it. And I thought, this is awesome. And when this team gets good, this team is going to be good for a while. And they had a lot of good years after they drafted Anze Kopitar and Dustin Brown and Drew Doughty and Jonathan Quick and all these guys that started to play for them. And the Chicago thing went away real quick, where it was, the first couple of years I was out here, it was, I'll follow Chicago a little bit on TV and watch whatever games I can on the center ice package. And, but then it was all Kings after that. And you just get so intertwined and you get to know some of the guys, and it just, I can watch the Chicago games, but I'm so far away from feeling that Chicago vibe that it just doesn't even exist anymore. It's
right. You're not much with LA now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that, it's like, there's this allegiance to Los Angeles where you go like, now I'm a Kings fan. I don't even think about being a Blackhawks fan. Like when I grew up, it was Chris Chelios was playing for the Blackhawks, and Eddie Belfour was the goalie, and Jeremy Roenick was playing, and Steve Larmer, and all these guys, Steve Smith. I could go on and on, and they're legends and will always be legends to me. But they'll always be Blackhawks to me, and it doesn't mean that I have to keep that allegiance. You know what I mean? I love the Kings. I love everything about the Kings. Luc Robitaille, Hall of Famer, played for the Red Wings, won the cup there, is my boss, and he's fantastic, and could never say a bad word about him.
So kind of want to get a little bit more from your perspective as far as going from starting off as a media member in the early days, like you mentioned, when the Kings were really struggling, but you still had guys that were willing to kind of, make time and talk to you and this and that, despite the tougher times. Take us from that time and kind of to see the development and the growth of the franchise over the last 15 or so years, going from that cellar dweller of the league to ultimately you being a part of, a more acknowledgeable part as far as game day experience in cup teams.
Yeah, well, it was a big move, especially when I came in 2012. There was no 2013. There's no better, I put in quotes, better time to come in. If you're a hockey fan, you like good hockey, that was the time to be here, because 2012, there was the cup. 2013, you're back in the cup run. 2014, you go to the finals again and win it. 2015, there are all these years that you're strung together, and you go, those games against the Blackhawks were some of the best hockey we've seen in recent years. And you can argue that to the death, but that was some of the best hockey I've ever seen. And to see it close up and to see it, from between the penalty boxes was amazing. And just the battles every single night and the going back and forth, and you never know who's going to win. It could have gone either way. It was a heck of a time to come in, and it was a big learning curve. It was a steep learning curve, especially being in the media and then coming over. But then we had all these people who were jumping on the bandwagon. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. That you had all these people who were, semi or quasi hockey fans, and then the Kings start to win cups, and they go, "Wow, I want to be a part of this." And they just all kind of pile on, and you go, "This is great." We had a parade where I was on one of the buses, the Stanley Cup parade in 2014, and there's hundreds of thousands of people in the streets of downtown Los Angeles, and you're just going, "Oh my God, this is amazing." The Lakers do this. Who knew the Kings could do this? And it's just, all of a sudden you become, nobody who's covering the Kings to somebody who's right in the thick of it. And all of a sudden people recognize you when you go places, and people say they can, keep their anonymity here. But I still go out and I get recognized by people that, "Hey, you're the Kings guy," and you go, "Oh my God, how do you know that?" But there's a great group of fans here, and they really pay attention. They really love their team, and they're diehard Kings fans, and we love that.
So you brought it up, right? I wanted to ask, can you kind of give us that comparison of the basketball to hockey market that Los Angeles is? I mean, you mentioned the Lakers having their parade and whatnot. Just kind of compare the two and how the city is different/indifferent towards each other as far as the games are concerned. Sorry.
Well, this is a Lakers town. I mean, there's through and through. It's a Lakers town. It's a Dodgers town. Winning 2 cups in 3 years made it a Kings town for those 3 years. The Lakers were down. The Dodgers weren't winning. So it was a Kings town.
The Clippers.
The Clippers still are in Los Angeles. Yeah, so it's always going to be a Lakers/Dodgers town. This is a basketball city. Are there hockey fans here? Yes. Are there a lot of hockey fans here? Yes. Do they love their hockey? Yes. Listen, they packed Staples Center for years. We had hundreds of consecutive sellouts, a consecutive sellout streak into the hundreds that just ended a few years ago. So there are people here who love hockey, but is it a basketball, baseball town first and foremost? Yes. And now some would say, now the Rams and the Chargers are here. Okay, the Rams are here. So it's now becoming a football town. So, the thing about Los Angeles is in most major cities, there's one basketball team, there's one football team, there's one hockey team, right? There's one WNBA team, there's one soccer team. Here, there's 2 of everything. Plus there's major college sports, which so you go Rams, Chargers, Lakers, Clippers, Dodgers, Angels, Kings, Ducks, if you consider Anaheim. Then you go USC, UCLA, Sparks. I mean, there's everything. There's everything you could possibly imagine in Los Angeles. So for the Kings to do what they did and sell out for over 400 consecutive games, it's amazing. There's a huge, solid hockey base here.
Now, you talked about how the fan base kind of grew as they started winning. You talked about that idea, that bandwagon. Can you just kind of talk us through the differences between the 2012 run and the 2014 run? And was there any major differences that you saw from kind of the community of LA kind of galvanizing with the LA Kings? Was it more poignant in 2014 when was there more fans? How was there any major differences between those two, or is it kind of more similar?
3 words for you: grown men weeping. 2012 was grown men weeping. I was one of them. I kid you not. The Kings had never played for the Stanley Cup other than 1993. So they win the Stanley Cup. You're in Staples Center. They know they're winning the Stanley Cup. And you look around, the building is literally shaking. Like, I have chills right now. I have goosebumps right now thinking about it, because it was unbelievable. And I was a member of the media, and I was there. I was about 15 rows off the ice, and I could feel the building shaking. And you would turn, and there are these people who have been season ticket holders since 1967 when the team first came into the league. Grown men, openly weeping, hugging each other, anybody, didn't matter who, kids, parents, grandparents, like everybody. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. And I've got chills going up and down my spine right now just thinking about it, because it was the most electrifying moment I have ever felt live in my life. I mean, I've seen things on TV where that's a tearjerker. I had tears rolling down my face. Like, this is crazy. These people have waited this long for this. And here it is. And 2014, more people came, and the building was packed, and it was the same. It was like, here we go again. It was very similar. And people were like, we could do this every year. And I'm thinking, okay, so now it can't happen every year. It would be great, but it probably is very unlikely. I mean, they're very similar. It's just 2012 was so electric. It was so, being the 8th seed that year, knocking off Vancouver in the first round, and just everyone was like, "Oh, okay, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. We're not going to win." All the experts, they're not going to win. They're not. And then the Kings beat everybody that year, and no one saw it coming. And then here they are, and they win, and Staples Center's packed, and it's just hard to top that. It's hard to top that moment. Very similar in 2014 because. But by then, people knew the Kings were good, and they knew Andrzej Kopitar was really good, and they knew Jonathan Quick was a great goalie, and they knew Dustin Brown was going to crush some people, and Drew Doughty was fantastic. So, you could kind of see it coming a little bit more, but 2012, I mean, just off the charts.
What was it like doing the Stadium Series game at Dodger Stadium?
It was incredible. It was surreal, and it was yet I felt disconnected because I was in the PA booth where the baseball PA announcer sits, Todd Lights for the Dodgers, who's a great guy. So normally I'm between the penalty boxes at center ice. So you have a feel for what's going on. You have a feel and you hear the officials and all. So now they say, hey, PA guy, you're way up in the booth where the baseball guy sits and you're so far from the ice. And it's awesome. Let me tell you, because when there's 56,000 people in the building compared to 18 or 19,000, it's pretty neat. And to hear your voice come back to you they have a big stack of speakers in center field. So you have to wear headphones in there because your voice echoes and it bounces all around the stadium. It's a really different sound to hear your voice in a baseball stadium. But man, to see those guys coming out of center field, coming out of the locker rooms and walking in and having Bob Miller introduce Wayne Gretzky and Kiss is playing, at intermission. And you're just like, we're playing hockey at Dodger Stadium. This is not supposed to happen. And I have pictures that I go back and look at and I'm like, how did they do this? I know how they did it. I mean, but it's a remarkable feat. And to be the first game in Southern California to be played outdoors at Dodger Stadium, such a, classic building. It was a great night. It was a long couple of days, but it turned out well. And it was a great night.
Well, what goes into preparation for someone like you for a game like that? I mean, is it any different compared to a normal game? I would imagine. I mean, there's a lot more going on the game presentation side and whatnot. But like, how much more of an event is that compared to a normal NHL game?
Well, yeah, and a lot of it's run by the NHL. So we have our own crew that's involved in it, and the great Brooklyn Boyers, who was my boss for many years, who ran our game presentation department. She was fantastic and kind of buffering between me and the NHL, and the NHL would give you a script and then they'd change the script, then they change the script again. And then there were just multiple changes before the game took off. And then we didn't have, as I recall, we didn't have an in-arena announcer, like a person running around in the stadium for that game. So anything that had to do with like contests or games or things that were up on the scoreboard that we would throw to, they kind of came to me for that. So it's not stuff that I normally do. It's stuff that I can do, but we usually have someone else who does that. So it was like, okay, well, now you have to do this game, or you have to do this presentation, or you have whatever it was. But there were so many script changes and things like that because it's constantly changing. I think that's the only difference. And getting used to hearing your voice in that stadium is different. Other than that, it's pretty much the same because, it's the Kings and the Ducks. They played hundreds of times, and the guys on both of the teams. And it's pretty straightforward after that.
I have a question about maybe the future of the Kings a little bit. The Kings weren't great this season, but, they still got some star power left over, and they've had a really good prospect pool with Velarde and Kailev, and they've got the second-round pick in the draft, or second overall pick in the draft. How excited are you for all these guys to come up and bring back make the Kings a force again?
Kings again. That's right.
Yes.
Kings again.
Kings again. That's a slogan for you. Kings
Thank
again.
You. Kings again. Copyright Dave Joseph, by the way, October 6th, 2020. Okay. Kings again. Dave Joseph. You heard it here first. Ian, Cameron, Connor. So you were all witness to that. Okay?
Yep. Right here.
We'll put that. So we have a hot take at every show. We'll throw that in when the Kings get.
I love it. Kings
whatever
again.
they get this season.
This prospect pool that they have is amazing. First of all, so I also do the games in Ontario, our minor league affiliate. So I get to see these guys every night. So I see Cale Clegg, and I see Gabe Velarde, and I see Mikey Anderson, and Mikey Asamont, and Matt Luff, and Austin Wagner, and you name it. I see these guys every single night. Then they get called up to the Kings, and you go, all right, well, let's see if they can do it at the NHL level. And some can and some can't, as we all know. Now they've got the second overall pick. Now they've got Kaliyev. Now they've got Velarde, who hopefully is healthy and going into his first full year in the NHL. These guys have I think it's the best rated prospect pool in all of hockey. And they've got so many picks. I know nothing behind the scenes. I know nothing that goes on with management, what they're trying to do. I wouldn't be shocked if there were some moves to bring in some other, key players because they have so many prospects and not enough spots. But you look at the prospects this team has, from Jared Anderson, Dolan, all the guys I named down the list, they're going to be so good. Akil Thomas, there are so many guys.
I forgot about Akil Thomas.
Oh my God. And
he's so good.
I'm forgetting 5 guys off the top of my head, but you look, I don't know who they're going to pick in the draft today. I think I know who. I think his name starts with a Q, but I think that's the way they're going to go. He's going to play there eventually. If a quarter of these guys turn out to be any good, this team is going to be off the charts. It's going to be they're going to be so good and good for years to come because they're all so young.
And Dave, we'll give you a little bit of heads up. The Foley deal. Y'all got Tyler Madden. We've seen him play against our college plenty of times. He is unbelievable.
There's another guy. Yeah.
Massive skill.
Alex Turcotte. Haven't even brought him up yet.
Oh, yeah. Turcotte. We've seen
Alex
him play
Turcotte, who was our top pick last year in the draft, who's I don't know if he'll make the team this year, but right. And then, this year with the number 2 pick, and there's so many picks from the past 3 years that you can go back and look at, and you go, any of these guys, Kaliev's a pure goal scorer and scores 50 every year, so not that he's going to get 50 in the NHL, but he's probably going to score a bunch of goals. He could. So I don't know. Like I said, if a quarter of these guys even turn out to be what they're supposed to be in the NHL, this team is going to be good for years to come. And then guys like Anze Kopitar and Dustin Brown, these guys who have been so good for so long in LA, don't have to be the top guys every night because you're going to have these guys to take over for them. And they're going to have the young legs that are so much needed these days.
I wanted to ask you a little bit because we just kind of mentioned some of the local talent around here. What was it like to kind of catch the great run that another local guy that played his college hockey out this way, and Jonathan Quick? What was it like seeing him play every night, knowing the fact that, he could win you a game 1-0 and stop 40, 45 shots every night while standing on his head and doing cartwheels in the crease?
I got to tell you, he is the most exciting to watch that I've ever seen. The most exciting. And he's been so good for so long. Same thing. He's so athletic. Not the biggest guy in the world, as you guys know. Was he 6'1" maybe? And now you see guys that are 6'6", 6'8" playing the net, and Jonathan Quick just goes post to post better than anybody that I've ever seen. He not single-handedly, but close to single-handedly won the Kings the Cup in 2012. I mean, he was lights out every single night. And those 3 playoff runs they had, 2012, 2013, 2014, it's tough to find better goaltending than that. And pretty much every night, when it comes down to a Game 7 in the playoffs, there's one guy that I'd want in the net, and that's Jonathan Quick. Because, like you just said, Ian, he can win you a game. And he can win you a shootout. The guy's lights out pretty much every night. Does he have his bad games? Sure. All goaltenders do. All players do. More often than not, he's the guy you want between the pipes every single. And he has just been fantastic to watch. It's been such an honor to watch him. When he calls it quits, that his 32 is going to go up to the rafters at Staples Center. There's no doubt about it. Him, Dustin Brown, Anze Kopitar, Drew Doughty. No doubt about it.
Now, take us through your experience, because you were in between the penalty benches when Alec Martinez scored the game-winning goal, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So bring us through your perspective. I mean, you're on the game presentation side of things. You kind of understand, okay, we have some work to do after this goal goes in. Like, we talked to Alan Roach about the Minneapolis Miracle when he was announcing the Vikings game, and he was like, okay, we have an extra point that we have to announce, and we get going here. So he inside of him, he was freaking out, but he had a job to do. Was that kind of similar thing for you where you were, freaking out on the inside? The Kings just won the Stanley Cup, but you were like, okay, we need to announce this goal. We have things to do here. How is that whole thing for you?
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened. That's a good way to put it. First of all, it was slow motion because from my angle, I could see like Alec Martinez was skating in from right, like directly I could see an open net.
Right by you.
Right. So the shot comes off the pad and here comes Martinez skating in, and I see nothing but an open net with Alec Martinez with the puck on his stick, and I'm going, shoot! Like it was all, I can still see it happening in slow motion. I'm going, shoot the puck! And he shot it, and it goes in, and you go, oh my God, what just happened? Then everybody's screaming on headset. So as you guys know, there's 12, 15, 18 people on headset, and everyone's going, we just won the Stanley Cup! And you're going, oh my God, like a little more poop comes out of my pants and you go, wow, okay, should have wore the diaper tonight, but whatever. And then I looked at my script. This is the funny part. I'll never forget this. I look at my script and there are, I don't know if everybody has this, but we had this, and I think it came from the NHL. There are 2 versions of the script. There is, if the Kings win, say this. And then below that, if the Kings lose, say this.
You got to be prepared.
Right. You have to be prepared either way. Because if the Kings lose, there's the next game. Mm-hmm. So you have to announce, all right, fans, the next game is blah, 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 and come back. And okay. I had in my script, and I still have it, I have that second part that says if the Kings lose, crossed off in red ink from before the game. I said, it's not going to happen. So I crossed it off and read it, and I have it. So I kept it, and I said, I showed everyone in the game presentation department, which is kind of a funny joke between us, but I said, there's no way we're playing another game. Like, this is going down tonight. We're winning tonight. And nobody believed me. And I said, here you go. Here's this, like, this is it. This is the script beforehand. So I looked at my script, and I said, okay, now, and actually from that point, it's very easy for the PA announcer, because then it's, ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup, which I got to say, and the guys walk out with the white gloves, Phil Pritchard, and they walk out onto the ice carrying the cup. And then I believe, I'd have to look at it again, but I think I threw it to Gary Bettman.
And the booze rained down.
Yeah, and the booze rained down. And then he announced the Conn Smythe winner and then told Dustin Brown to come and get the cup. I think I said, ladies and gentlemen, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman, or something like that. And then he took it from there. My night was done. So it's actually really easy. But getting through that part where you have to say, woo, we just won, and then, ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup, you're just, I'm like, oh my God, I'm on top of the world. And you got to collect yourself and still have that professional, you can't go nuts about it. You still have to have that professional vibe. But on the inside, I was just, ready to burst. Because
did you
get that opportunity.
Bills when you said, ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, and if you go play the video again, which I've done a million times, like, my voice kind of breaks at one point, because I was just like, oh God, like I said, then afterward I went, like, why did I do that? But it was just like, I don't take it back, because it was the moment. I felt the moment. That's the way it played out. I mean, I probably never have that. Hopefully I have that chance again, but you never know in this, in this business. It's so hard to win the Stanley Cup. You never know if you're going to have that opportunity again. So I don't know. It was definitely the career highlight.
So, and Dave, I assume that you got a chance to lift the cup yourself at some point.
No. I will not lift the Stanley Cup ever.
Wow.
I will not lift the cup. That's a thing that I think is reserved for players and coaches and training staff. And I don't consider myself in that group. I've kissed the cup. I've touched the cup. I've had my picture with the cup. I've hugged the cup. I will not lift the Stanley Cup over my head, because I don't want to put this the wrong way. I have more respect for the guys who win the cup. That, you know what I mean? Like, I don't knock people who do it. I just don't think it's right for me to do it, because the only way I'm lifting the Stanley Cup is if I'm a coach of a team, or I played on a team, or I'm a trainer, in some capacity like that, where I'm first and foremost part of the team that wins the cup. I was a side part of the team that won the cup, but I don't think I deserve to lift the cup over my head. I think that's reserved for the guys who won it.
Now, what if a representative of team management came to you and said, hey, go out there and take a picture in front of all these fans and put the cup over your head?
I'd say I politely decline, but thank you.
Good on you.
I just don't think it's right for me. I don't think, like, I played hockey my whole life, and I know what those guys go through. Like, I've never played in the NHL, so I don't know, but I've seen what they go through. I know the battles they go through, and I just don't think I don't have it in me to lift up that cup and say, yeah, I won the cup. Like, I don't.
Everything else.
Do you get a ring though, Dave?
I got a ring.
All right.
Yeah. That's fine by me.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, that's fine by me. It's all I need.
Hey, it's like you said, it's still it's a once in a lifetime moment for most people. And like you said, some people don't even get the chance to do that.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's such a unique opportunity for the guys who won it, and for the guys who had to sweat and toil and bleed and do all that stuff for the cup. That's for them, man. That's for the coaches who taught these guys. That's for the guys who go through the grind every single day. That's not for Dave Joseph, PA announcer, to lift the cup. You know what I mean? I've just seen too much, and I've seen the injuries, and I've seen the battles, and I've seen what it takes. And that is not something that I feel comfortable with. I'm not knocking anyone who's done it. Mm-hmm. I'm certainly not, but it's just not for me. Not for me.
So one thing not a lot of people out there might know about you is you've been on Kimmel. Take us through that experience and what that was like for you, because that was a pretty unique moment, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was fun. I did it twice, actually. I did it they emailed me, they got in touch with me through the Kings, and they said, hey, we want to do this bit about people becoming new American citizens. And these people had, hard names to pronounce. They were from foreign countries. And they said, we want to do it like a hockey starting lineup or like a basketball starting lineup. Would you want to do that? And I said, yeah, of course. That's what we do, right? So they gave me all these names, and there were like 5 or 6 people, and they played They're Coming to America with Neil Diamond, and I would introduce them in front of this studio audience, and it was great. I did it a couple of years ago, and then I did it again last year. And last year, Brad Paisley came out, and Brad Paisley sang a song and played guitar, and we had a good old time, and it was fun. I hope they do it again. It's been tough with the COVID because they haven't had studio audiences or people in attendance, but hopefully we can get back to it and do it again. It seems like a pretty good, a fun bit, interesting bit. And I think it's great, too, to acknowledge the people that have done their due diligence to become American citizens, and to give them that kind of pomp and circumstance to welcome them to the United States. I mean, they loved it. And I love doing it. It was an honor for me to do it. And if Jimmy asked me to do it, I'll be back there again.
What goes in, I'm trying to find the right way to phrase it, but which one takes more effort to get the product, the end product, the NHL PA or doing Jimmy Kimmel? Which one's harder to prepare for?
Jimmy Kimmel, actually, because the names are a lot tougher. And
Yep.
so it was like they would give you a little biographical information on each person that you'd have to read. So it'd be, this person is a blockchain CEO from, Nagandi, Pakistan or whatever. And he likes cooking and cats and doing puzzles in his spare time. Please welcome. And then you say this guy's name, and I don't know how to say his name. They I would talk to him and get the pronunciation, and the writers would help me out and everything. But it took a long time. And then you're thinking, well, there's A, you're on national TV, and B, there's a crowd of a couple hundred people there who are staring at you. And you've got a producer in your IFB yelling, announce. It's kind of nerve-wracking at first. And you've got a camera right in your face and a big light in your face. And when you do PA, there's nobody looking at you.
Right.
No, pretty much nobody knows where you are unless your friends are at the game and your family's at the game. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but there's nobody who's like staring at you or going, oh, there's the PA guy. Look, oh, when you're there, when you're doing like Jimmy Kimmel, there's a microphone or a camera guy in your face. There's a lighting guy in your face. There's a sound guy in your face. There's a producer, a technical director in your ear.
Yeah.
Jimmy's on stage. Brad Paisley's there playing guitar, and you're going, okay, don't F this up. Like, whatever you do, don't F this up. Just get it right. So, I think it's a little more pressure. It's really fun. I mean, it's a fun time. The people on Jimmy's show are just incredible people. The writers are so good. Everybody's so good there, and they were good to me. I go back there in a second. It's a really great time.
So one last question here before we get set to wrap it up. Talk to us a little bit about some of the voiceover work that you do as well, outside of Staples Center and then on stage with Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, obviously the 2 Kimmel things. I've done some. I work for. I'm represented by Vox. I shouldn't say I work for Vox. I'm represented by a company called Vox, VOX, based here in Los Angeles. And I've done things in the past for Rogaine, which I'm not doing anymore, obviously. As you can tell by my hair.
Any of us need it.
Yeah, I can hook you up with that. So I've done stuff for Rogaine. And then when I was at ESPN Radio out here, I was doing Sports Center updates in the morning, and I got started in voiceover work then. So I've done a lot of local stuff in LA, some stuff that's run nationally, done things for Western Exterminator. I don't know if you guys have heard of I don't know if I think it's West Coast thing.
Makes sense.
Some boxing promotions and things like that out here. Whatever comes my way, I'm game for it. I also do voiceover work for Siriusxm Radio. My friends Dennis Bernstein and the mayor John Hoven, they do a show, and I do some voiceover for their podcast. And a buddy of mine who does play-by-play for the Rockford Ice Hogs, I do voiceover work for his play-by-play. So it's a lot. It's a lot. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Whatever comes my way, I'm open to do it. And obviously, I have this big microphone at home, so I can do stuff from my home studio. So it all works out well.
That's awesome. Well, Dave, where can people find you on social media? Reach out and chat that way, or connect or follow along.
Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at Dave Joseph LA is where you can find me. Dave Joseph LA on Instagram, at Dave Joseph LA on Twitter. And then if you want to check out my website, feel free. First plug. This is the first time I'm plugging my website. I just finished it. DaveJosephLA.com.
Nice.
So if you guys want to go to Dave Joseph LA, you can see those Jimmy Kimmel appearances. My head looks even bigger on Kimmel, by the way. I know it looks really big here in the frame, but it looks even bigger and shinier on Kimmel. And they put makeup on me, which is crazy. So you can see all that stuff and check out my VO work and all that. DaveJosephLA.com, you guys. DaveJosephLA.com. Yeah.
Love.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, Dave, we can't thank you enough for joining us, taking some time out of your afternoon, and getting to chat some LA Kings hockey, something that is clear you have a lot of love for.
Ian, Cameron, Connor, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are the best. And anytime you want to chat, give me a buzz.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll take you up on that offer. Dave Joseph, public address announcer for the Los Angeles Kings, joining us here on Titletown Takes. We'll be back right after this.
All right. Big thanks to Dave Joseph. Again, we wish him the best of luck on whatever future endeavors come his way. And I thought, fellas, from that chat that we had, the biggest standout thing is, right, we don't often think about LA Kings fans being lifelong, often because of the fact that they hadn't won anything up until 2012. So it was awesome to hear his side of things, and how, again, it was an emotional moment for him seeing his team that he grew up watching and following along with finally getting to the top of the mountain. So again, big thanks to Dave, and best of luck in future endeavors for him. And we appreciate it. The Titletown Takes PA train rolls along, fellas. Another one
on board.
Another one. All right, fellas, let's transition over, talk some college puck. We will take a look at some updates to this week's USCHO poll. Again, we'll drop the updated poll down below so you guys can kind of follow along with some of the updates and check it out yourself. As always, we'll just mention the teams just on the outside looking in. The Golden Griffins of Canisius are out there looking in. Denver, Western Michigan, RIT, Robert Morris, Penn State, Notre Dame, UConn, and Army are all just on the outside. One of the big changes, not big changes, but a team finding their way into the top 20 this week, the Beavers.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go, Beavers.
The Beavers are in. They come in at number 19 this week. Just some other drastic changes. Not much through the middle of the pack. Duluth dropped a couple of spots. They're at number 10 now. And then other than that, really, fellas, the top 7 have remained the same. Michigan, St. Cloud, WSCHO, Minnesota, Minnesota State, Nodak, and Boston College. That's your top 7. It hasn't changed.
Virtually unchanged.
Yeah. BC got 27 of the first place votes. North Dakota got 12, and Minnesota State picked up 1.
Well, did you see that Spencer Knight in his past 25 games has 1 regulation loss?
That's bananas.
That is absurd.
That is bananas.
That is so crazy.
Florida's gonna run out of goalkeeper spots.
Yeah, I know.
They're already starting their backup, Deidre.
Yeah,
He's
doing good.
Drieger. He started more games than Bobrovsky has, and he's only making $8.5. He's only making $850 a year.
League man.
And Bobrovsky's on $10 million, and you got
He's massive.
You got to figure out who's the odd man out in that situation. And it's not going to be Bobrovsky. No one's going to want that contract. So, Panthers have a surplus. So
Zach Ewens.
Yeah. Perfect transition, fellas. We'll talk some MAC hockey. Big weekend for the boys.
Go MAC, baby.
They picked up a split, if you want to call it, or they got 4 out of a possible 6 points. Friday night last week at New Hampshire, they lost in a shootout. It officially goes in the books as a tie. So they got a point out of that. And then Saturday, the offense woke up, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
They put up a 6 spot against New Hampshire. They got 6 different goal scorers. 10 guys found their names onto the score sheet. Liam Walsh, Max Newton, Greaser, Benny Brar, Logan Drevich, and Philip Forsmark all found the back of the net. The power play, 4 for 4. The penalty kill, 6 for 6. That was about as good of a hockey game as you could have asked for, aside from the Wildcats finding the back of the net twice.
They went 7 for 9 on the power play the whole weekend. 7 for 9.
Pretty good.
That's all right. You take that. They're happy to have Logan Drevich back. That's pretty big. Especially with Max Newton coming in, playing center, and they're having, relatively good depth at center. They can put him back his natural position at the wing. I thought he looked really good on Saturday when we watched him at Lawler. But just something that was really cool to see was, this team in the third period gave up 2 unanswered goals, and it was 3-2 just like that against UNH. And then a minute later, Max Newton scored.
Not even. Try the Verrier goal came at the 9:43 mark, and Newton answered at 10:55. Okay, so yeah, a little over a minute. Sorry. Bad math.
Wow,
I'm not a math guy.
Try to go for that point there and just got slapped down.
Come on now. You're making me feel all bad, and then you're just like, oh, you were right, actually. Come on now. Roller coaster of emotions here, Beach Man. But that's a good sign to me. The fact that it was Newton is great. Just seeing him become a leader on this team so quickly is really cool. He does everything. He does everything right. He's always in the right spot. He's just, he's a very sound player. And his goal was nice.
It was a goal that they desperately needed.
Yeah, and it's a good sign for this team because this team in dates past and dating back to last year would give up a third goal and lose in overtime or something like that, or give up a fourth goal, So it's good to see them tie it up and really explode there in the third.
So in the first period, just to open things up, Logan Drevich scored at the 11:11 mark, and then 2 minutes and 20 seconds later, the lead was expanded to 2. Greaser would add one in the second period to make it 3-0. You mentioned the 2 unanswered by the Wildcats. And then the Warriors scored 3 goals in, I'm trying to do some quick math here, 3 minutes and 16 seconds in the third period. 10:55, 12:51, 14:11.
You take those. You take those.
We mentioned the power play. 2 of the power play goals came later in the power play. The first one in the first period came with a second left, right as time was about to expire. The fourth power play came with 4 seconds left. And then the middle 2, one was scored 10 seconds into the power play, and then the other one was scored 41 seconds into the power play. Both of those came on the first shot of said opportunities.
I'll tell you, man, Liam Walsh looks so good in the net front. What am I saying? Net front is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Net front.
In front of the net, whatever, however you want to do it. Net mouth.
There was a play, and I forget who put it on net. I think it was Carlisle. Threw it in front, and he just backhand tipped it like past the goaltender right to Philip Forsmark, and Philip Forsmark scored. It was a very good play. And then his goal was a net front goal. So you're getting everything out of Liam Walsh, which is great to see, especially with Max Newton coming in, especially with all these other guys putting in. And, they're starting to get some big players back coming up here. So hopefully they can keep it up next weekend. Yeah. I'm done.
I was talking to a friend of the show, Landy Tillman, during the game because we were both doing plus minus, and we were talking about it before the game, and she said, I think the power play is going to be key to this game. She nailed it right on the freaking head.
Right. Yeah.
I think, what was it, 5-6 power play goals in the weekend? So
7.
7. Wow, okay. So 7 power play goals in the weekend. And, Merrimack's always had a good power play. We've known it even back when we were students years ago. The
Bretzini days.
Yeah, the Bretzini days, we had a great power play, and that was always our strength. And just like you need to keep up, Merrimack's in a home playoff spot right now, fingers crossed. we can keep that up. It was probably just nice for them to have a nice game where they were in control for the majority. They haven't had a lot of that in the last couple of years. I said to Connor it was the best game I've seen them play under Scott Borick. And this is exactly when you want to start getting hot. So hopefully they can keep it up.
So looking ahead to this weekend, the Boston University Terriers are next up on the schedule.
I ain't worried.
And according to friend of the program,
don't be
Mike
giving them
McMahon.
any bulletin board material.
Yeah. He thinks they're overrated, is what we'll say.
That's what I was going to say. He thinks that their record is not as indicative of the team that they actually are. BU enters at 8-2 overall, I think it is. I'm taking a look right now here real quick.
Are they ranked?
Yeah, they're up to – they're at number 8.
To be a big weekend.
They're 9-2. 9-2.
If they can get at least one win, that's big.
So their wins, just real quick, I'm looking it up. Just they got wins over. They split with Providence, swept UMass early on in January, swept Maine. They split with BC, including a loss in overtime at BC, and then 2 wins at Vermont, and then a win at UConn. Do with that what you will. Connor, you don't look impressed.
I mean, I'm confident in the team.
Just gonna wait and see what happens.
Merrimack always plays BU well. Out of like any of the top teams in the conference, they always play BU well. Especially at Lawler. It's always a tough game for them.
We will be locked into a couple of games on Friday because we will be at Hamel for a basketball game at 4:00 when puck drops at Wally B.
Oof. How about that?
So we'll
get your Merrimack sports action. You should have one on your TV. You should have Merrimack versus BU at Walter Brown. On your tablet, you should have Merrimack College versus St. Francis Brooklyn with Ian Beauchesne on
yours truly on the call.
Yeah, there you go.
Assuming the stream has audio.
Okay, Wickman.
Topical.
Hey-oh.
But so yeah, fellas. I mean, BU's next up on the schedule. Obviously, playoffs are right around the corner. You got this week and next week left. Can
we get Wisconsin? Can we get Vermont next week, please?
Yeah, I know. It's the last weekend, isn't it?
No, next week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have this coming week, the 20. What is it?
BU.
BU, and then you have the week after.
Weekend.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant is this weekend the
Vermont.
So, points are at a premium right now, fellas, and it's a logjam in Hockey East, as it usually is. But so just gonna wait. Just gonna wait and see how things shake out the rest of the way. But like Cam already said, they're sitting in a position to host in the opening round of the playoffs, and that would be a first for us personally, getting a chance to host a playoff game because none of us were
athletic communication associates.
Yeah, or employees, however you want to look at it, right? So, again, 2 games on Friday, big one down at Wally B. Have that on the TV, and then you can listen to yours truly on an iPad or a laptop, however else you hook up to it, for basketball at Hamel. So, all right, fellas, we got a couple other things on the agenda. I just want to send out an apology ahead of time to our boy Boosh because the Celtics fucking stink.
Yeah.
I'm not mincing words here, fellas. The Celtics stink.
They do stink. They do. They just can't defend. They just don't care. It's like they know that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are like 2 stars in this league.
And that's all they
think that's all they need.
We got the Cameron Urbowicz, Danny Ainge moment.
Yeah, right. We're just not good enough to win a championship. Yeah,
So,
I mean, we're not.
Boogie Cousins is available. Do you guys want that?
Yeah.
Boogie. Hey.
We've been talking about it for years about Boogie Cousins.
Right now, at this point, it's hard.
I remember back when we were freshmen, Connor. We were talking about.
Here's what you do: you sign IT, you sign Boogie. They're good friends. Bring them in. They'll reset the locker room. IT ain't gonna take any crap.
End of the third quarter, fellas. 99-78 Atlanta.
They actually are like kind of bringing it back a little bit compared to what it was. But
Celtics are. Tell you how bad the East is. The Celtics are still in 6th place in the conference.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Trae Young.
You're not going anywhere quickly.
No.
Trae Young has gone off. He's got 30.
Yeah, they can't play defense. They just don't do it, and it's me ball all the time with this team. Like
they play Milwaukee right now.
Danilo Gallinari has 32.
When Mike Gorman, the biggest Celtics stan of all time, was going on Toucher and Rich, just crapping on the team.
The second biggest Celtics stan of all time.
That is fair.
Connor, you've lost your Tommy points for that one.
But I feel like Boosh is realistic with the Celtics sometimes.
Oh, Gorman's always more realistic with the Celtics. Tommy once said that Greg Stiesma was Bill Russell.
Very true. That is very true.
But yeah, it's just unfortunate. I mean, we don't know all that much. We don't watch basketball all that much, but it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. They have a team that can do it, and maybe it's Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is
it's a big loss,
plug in that locker room, in that lineup, and he's been out, and he'll be out for a little longer here. So hopefully when he comes,
he says he feels good, but
hopefully when he comes back, things will.
So just again to reiterate. After 3 quarters, Trae Young has 30 points, and Danilo Gallinari, a first-round pick back in 2008 by the Knicks, and who has pretty much been a journeyman around the NBA for a couple of seasons now, has 32 off the bench.
Is he a big man?
Yes, Gallinari's a big man.
Yep. Shocker. Celtics have no one to defend
big man. That's why if we get Boogie, and I know he's not what he used to be, but we need that presence, dude.
Yeah.
We haven't had a big man since Baines left. And Baines wasn't all. I mean,
he was all of Australia, baby.
You can argue Kendrick Perkins, man.
And yeah, I was gonna say Baines wasn't all that big. You know, we had Horford, but Horford was only 6'9".
Right.
And he's not that big. You know, Perkley 7 foot. At least you had that. He wasn't the greatest player, but he could rebound with the best of them, and that's what the Celtics have always lacked. Last couple of years, I've always pointed out to Connor. I don't watch a lot of basketball, but I know how important rebounds are. I feel like the Celtics get no rebounds.
They don't, and they haven't. And you know what? They had the opportunity to get Miles Turner this offseason. They didn't do it. They had it
again,
and Danny got greedy.
Sorry to Boosh, but his team stinks.
I think he knows that. I don't think you need to tell him that.
Yeah.
I hope he knows as much as he's going to try and keep the positivity train flowing.
Sometimes that's what you got to do, though.
I mean, you do the same thing. You do the same thing for the Bruins, Ian. Let's be honest.
No, I know. That's what I was just about to say. That.
Yeah.
Hello, Bruins. Keep the faith train conductor here.
Yeah.
So
fire Bruce truck.
Tip of the cap to Boosh for being the conductor of the Celtics faithful train.
Mark?
No,
he just signed an extension.
It doesn't mean anything.
Oh man.
Not this year.
Brad can't seem to coach a team of stars, man. He'll coach with your JV team and your rec league team and get that terrible Celtics team with only IT to a conference championship and a best record in the NBA. But as soon as you put him with some stars, I don't know, he crumbles. I don't know if he seems more like a soft-spoken leader.
He's an X's and O's guy.
He can get hot. You know, we've seen Brad get hot, but he's very quiet in his presence.
X's and O's.
That's not what this team needs.
You have to question his leadership and inspiration ability as a head coach.
And that's what I was kind of hoping with Evan Turner getting brought in. A former player. He's known a lot. He's been around that locker room before. He knows those guys. I figured, maybe with Turner, we'd be able to create some more, just leadership from the coaching staff. And I don't know if it's been a bad sync or a bad, Celtics have always been a team that plays well in front of a home crowd. They don't have that.
Could be the case.
it's a lot. Like we joke, and it's like I'll bring it to hockey before we move on here. We joke like Florida Panthers, they get no fans. They're one of the best teams in the league right now. Maybe because they're used to it.
They're used to it.
So, all right, fellas. Well, we got one thing left on the agenda. And Connor, do you care to remind what the lovely folks on the other end, what that might be?
It's the bag of fun. The bag of fun. Everybody's been waiting for the bag of fun. Question of the quarantine. Mr. Beauchesne, what do you got?
Before we get to the bag of fun, as always, want to remind the folks at home that the bag of fun question of the quarantine is proudly sponsored by our good friends over on Facebook, Gab Sports Memorabilias.
How many B's?
2 B's. 2 B's. So head on over to Facebook, search Gab, Gabb, Sports Memorabilia on Facebook to grow or start your very own sports memorabilia collection. You can add a Mike Eruzione jersey as we just celebrated the 41st anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. You can add a Matt Grzelcyk signed miniature helmet like I have positioned behind me here, and so much more. They've expanded their products. They're dipping into the college football helmet world now as well that they're starting to get involved with. Baseball season's around the corner, so some of that memorabilia is starting to pick up, and they're really getting things going over there. So head on over to Facebook and search Gab Sports Memorabilia with 2 B's.
Gab with 2 B's.
And start or grow your sports memorabilia collection without breaking the bank. On that note, fellas, our bag of fun question of the quarantine today, in fitting fashion, following this weekend's events out in Tahoe, where would you like to see the NHL expand for future outdoor games? The floor is open to anybody who wants to lead this one off.
Well, I just went on a West Coast road trip and saw a lot of cool places. And I think the NHL, what they did this year, just proved to the fact that you don't need to do it at a stadium. If you can find a piece of land that's just super cool, you should do it. You know? Like, I don't know how it's going to work with, like, national parks and stuff, but if you can get into, like, Yellowstone or Yosemite National Park and just find a piece of land with mountains or, you know, like the thermal pools at Yellowstone or something in the background, hell yes. Like, yeah. Yellowstone Lake and Yellowstone National Park is beautiful. And if you can get it done there, that'd be super cool. Like, adjacent to, like, Half Dome in Yosemite National Park, that'd be cool. Like, in a redwood forest, imagine just a hockey rink in there. That'd be super cool. It'd be tough to find the space, but if you can do it, that'd be insane.
I'm sure out in California there's some kind of, like, open area that's big enough where you could plop a hockey rink in the middle of it.
That'd be cool, man. So those are a couple things that came to mind for me.
Quick, man, you want to go or you want me to?
I can go. I just thought of one that would be it wouldn't be feasible. There's no way they could pull it off. Maybe during, like, all this COVID stuff they could do it, but imagine Rangers, Islanders right in the middle of Times Square.
Wow.
That'd be sick.
That would be something.
There's no way, because, you know, it's a major hub and there are a bunch of...
That'd cause traffic nightmares for a month.
Yeah, but if they could pull it off for one game, oh my Lord, that'd be insane.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
What was it? Penn State game at Happy Valley. You could do Flyers and the Penguins. I think that could be a lot of fun.
And you could do it. You could double dip too. It doesn't necessarily have to be just the NHL. Penn State could host a game there as well.
Yep.
We've seen colleges get involved. Michigan State played Michigan at the Big House.
Notre Dame played.
Notre Dame. Notre Dame played it.
Hockey East played at Fenway.
Exactly. It's you know, you open up a lot more options.
Fenway, don't forget.
Did I ever tell you, fellas?
Someone on Twitter tweeted this, and it'd be awesome, but I don't think they could pull it off safely. Playing on the Charles River.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Adjacent to, like, Storrow Drive.
Yeah.
Like by the hatch cell, that'd be sick.
But I don't know if they could pull it off with, like, make sure the ice is complete safe and all that. I can't really think of any others. I don't want to maybe take anything from Ian here, so I'll let him take the floor here.
Well, I think one that kind of stands out to me personally, just because I like the history behind the programs. We saw the Naval Academy in Annapolis host a game. Last year, we saw the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs host a game. There's only one other service academy that hasn't had a chance, and that's at West Point. I think that would be a hell of a view, a hell of a spot to host a game. I mean, just some of the scenery you get around those grounds during any point in the year. Never mind if you're doing it in like the middle of winter. There's snow on the ground everywhere, right along the Hudson.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
I did think of one actually.
Go ahead, Kim.
I don't know if you thought of this, Ian, but if Atlanta still had a team, you could do one right on Augusta.
Ooh.
I
don't know how well that would go over with the folks at Augusta National as far as people that's concerned, but
you do it in January. They're not out there.
Yeah.
That would be unbelievable. A lot of golf courses, honestly, would be good.
Yeah.
There are some incredible just random golf. Oh my God.
But Cam, kind of going off of what you just said with the Charles River, I'd like to see him go and play on the St. Lawrence up in Ottawa.
Oh.
I've heard Banff too.
Banff National, Lake Louise.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Be sick. Battle of Alberta out there.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. As long as it's not minus 30 degrees or something like that, like it was.
Bring it.
So,
bring
they haven't done it before. They did it at the first Heritage Classic in 2003 had. It was cold.
It was freezing cold. It was well below zero.
It was.
Some would call it brick.
It was brick, baby. It was brick.
Chris so away with Tuco.
Yeah. And then just I'm trying to think of like maybe one more spot that would be cool. Off the top of my head, I know Carolina's supposed to get an outdoor game this year. That's not going to happen. That got pushed off. Minnesota has the next Winter Classic. Top of my head, one more. Florida, maybe Raymond James.
Yeah, with the Cannons.
With the Cannons.
Cool.
Tampa and Florida.
You could give the Lightning like Buccaneer jerseys.
Yeah, just
that'd be cool.
Tampa Bay Buccaneer up the Lightning uniforms. I don't know.
That was hard for you to say.
I was trying to think of a way to phrase it, but it did struggle. Felt just real quickly. This wasn't on the agenda till we just talked about it. Bringing up golf, I think there's a big story out there that really, just thoughts and prayers to Tiger as he's going through all of his stuff. We certainly we hope it's nothing that sends him back into a tailspin or any problems that have come up prior for him. We hope this was just some sort of weird freak accident, and just want to see him get back to good health. And
I don't think
everything else is secondary at this point. Just get back to good standards as far as health is concerned.
I don't think Tiger will ever play again.
I don't either. I think it's going to be very hard.
With 2 compound fractures in his legs, or 1 compound fracture, the other one's just regular fracture.
Shattered ankle.
Yeah. I don't think he'll ever play professionally ever again. But I don't even think it's at that point. It's hopefully he can live a normal life.
Exactly. The golf is secondary at this point. Just
he got his moment. We all know how much that Masters meant to him, and a lot of people. It meant a lot to just me and Connor. We were just sitting at home watching.
I was on the road coming back from the Frozen Four in Buffalo, fellas. Watched it on my iPad in the car on the way back. The entire round.
Driving.
No, I wasn't driving. I was not driving, so it was enjoyable. That day, the fact that they pushed the Masters up to a 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock tee time just to get that in because of the weather that was coming in made that 8.5-hour drive back from Buffalo much more entertaining.
But me and Connor, we've talked about Tiger before, and he's one of the guys that everybody roots for. You know, in a world so divided that we're in now, you know, we talk about it all the time. Tiger, it feels like one of those athletes that brings everyone together. I don't think you can find anyone who, like, people have guys they don't like, but for the most part, everybody loves Tiger.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be Tiger when they were growing up, when they're at least my age, you know.
And just the way that he changed the game of golf.
Mm-hmm.
And open the window for so many young kids of color and other ethnicities to just be able to go and step into a game that was a predominantly white male sport at the time. So, you know, we would be remiss if we didn't bring that up. And, you know, hopefully things get back. And like we said, Tiger gets back to living a normal, healthy life following everything that's gone on with him in the past 24 hours. So,
well said.
All right, fellas, that puts a cherry on this Sunday. That puts a wrap on episode 48. For Dave Joseph, for my co-hosts, Connor Powell and Cameron Urbowicz, my name is Ian Beauchesne. Lights out. Good night.